I don't know whether you know Sale, I'm sure I don't. In the UK, his company became the main source of plotters, early robotic printers from Japan, and during these years he travelled extensively to Israel, Denmark, Germany, Australia and Japan. David and Jenny, along with Richard, his wife Margaret, and the operators Bernard and Virginia, I can't say Winepool, even dabbled in the restaurant field, owning the Austrian Inn in Newtown. Some of you may remember that, for a few years. Before my moving over to Australia, David and my hubby Rob, Bobby to David, sold cartage trolleys David had imported for some of the removal firms here. Another wonderful idea David had was creating sensors for parking meters. So when a car left the meter, it would automatically reset itself. Bobby and David went around various councils in both Wellington and Auckland trying to sell the idea. The concept was great, but unfortunately it never took off. On the occasion of our Auntie Ray's funeral, and this is a memory from Peter, our brother, in Australia, on the occasion of our Auntie Ray's funeral in Christchurch in 1990, David arrived with what we thought was a huge and cumbersome piece of wood. In fact, it was one of those new fandangled cell phones, which he was understandably proudly showing us all. He was keen to keep it switched on during the funeral service in case calls from his business came in. He was told to turn the darn thing off, much to his consternation, as only David could. He did with his mouth. Here are a couple of events that Peter does remember. In early 1954, just after the Christmas Eve Tangiwai rail disaster, can anyone remember that one? Yep, okay. And my birth, Peter relates to how he and David travelled with Auntie Maud and Uncle Lyle in their little cramped Ford Anglia to Nongataha. Richard stayed at home as he was only 8 years old, and the reason why Peter and David went away was to give Mum and Dad breathing space once they came home. It was a long trip in those days, and they must have left early as they visited the disaster scene at Tangiwai before driving on to Nongataha, where they stayed for a couple of weeks. They enjoyed occasionally catching the Auckland to Rotorua Express at Nongataha late in the afternoon for the 10-minute run into Rotorua to meet Uncle Lyle after work. It was also good fun getting back to Palmerston North, catching the Rotorua to Wellington bus and changing at Taihape for connecting services to PM. Again, long days travel. The home brewing days. Dad was a prolific home brewer.